Hello there. I don't want this video to be long, but knowing me, it could potentially be long. You know, I'm like, let's see if I can get it this a little nicer. That'll do. Yeah, so anyway, I wanted to talk about something that I think I've talked about before, but like it's so serious and I'm feeling it so immensely, and I try and maintain this, but it just happens, and I know so many other people go through this, and I think I should just talk about it. Even if not many people see this, it's important, which is a feeling of despair, a feeling of anxiety, a feeling of depression can change every situation you're in. It's like when you're feeling a mental health situation, I think the reason there's people out there that struggle so ridiculously hard, unless they have something actually specifically in their brain that isn't letting them get away from it, you know, something neurologically, but they can still change that, but not all of them, right? But the majority who can, like, I think the reason, like, some people who get this despair or get this depression or get this anxiety, the reason they never seem to be able to get out of it at all is because they don't know they're in it in some ways. Like, they forget it's not that they forget, they just don't have they haven't implemented particular routines in their mind and in their spirit and in living to get past it. So like, I keep doing it, and like I've done so much work on myself, but I see myself doing it. Like, for instance, today, like, I feel despair. I feel like everything's going to fall apart, and I don't know why. I'm missing my ex excessively, and that was like in August, you know. But I'm, you know, really missing her. That's how I feel, and I'll say you know, I've got to be honest. Like, I'm feeling slightly unwanted. I'm feeling like I don't really have strong friends. I feel like I don't have a purpose, but I feel isn't real. I feel is a choice, but it's hard. And what I mean by that is, what you basically need to do, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling despair, if you're feeling these emotions, you push through. But it feels like a contradiction, because the reason it feels like a contradiction is because you are basically turning away from what you need to turn around again, and you need to climb instead of walk away. And it's so metaphoric, what I'm saying. It's so, emotions are so abstract that is forgotten, that you can even turn around, that you can even look the other way and go, oh yeah, I could climb, couldn't I? Instead of just like pitifully going down and down. Like a minute ago, I was just like looking down at the floor, and I was just feeling shit, and I didn't know what, and I did know why, but like, I knew this video would help me, and I hope it helps others, which is, you know, the more we turn around, the more we grind and go, oh, and turn and look and go, okay, I'll climb this mountain. Because that's the annoying thing. Like, you're like, I gotta climb this fucking mountain. I've got to go up these stairs, and I feel like shit. And I didn't know I was going to feel like shit. It just happened to me. And that's like the feeling of like giving up. You just want to give up because these feelings make you want to give up. So it would be different if these feelings made you want to do something. They don't, but they can. If you continue to turn around and go, all right, I'm going to go upstairs then, every time. Because then you'll build a structure inside of your mind that knows when you're depressed, when you have despair, when you have anxiety, when you're feeling like this, your mind will instantly go, by the way, if you walk up those stairs, metaphoric, if you walk up those stairs, if you actually start climbing and get out of this hole, you'll feel better. You'll actually feel better, you know. But I understand why it's hard. It's because you feel like absolute shit. And when you feel like shit, you don't want to do anything. It's a complete, and it feels like a clash. But the more you say no, and the more, because look, there's a truth in this. There is a truth in, you do want to feel like this sometimes. When you get these emotions, sometimes you want to feel it. And I don't think you're like, I want to feel depressed, la la la, because obviously you don't. But what I mean by you want to feel it is it feels necessary, or it feels like you deserve to feel like shit. Like, I don't, like, yeah, like, in a way you feel like you deserve to feel like shit. And it's not true. And, you know, it really, mental health is such a struggle. And sometimes I can't tell whether being intelligent or not helps. I can't tell, you know? But it's a struggle. And if I look back from even talking now, and I look back at, like, what was I doing? I know what I was doing. I was just sitting there watching YouTube. I was, getting bitter about something that's impossible for me to even have control over. I was missing my ex that I have no control over. I was, instead of drawing, instead of putting music on, instead of, I don't know, loving myself, instead of meditating, instead of going for a walk, instead of anything along those lines that is me turning around and going, okay, I'm going to try and get out of this, I stayed in it. And the longer you stay in it, the more it becomes like normality. You got to understand that, like, mental health is so abstract that it creates a normality quite instantly. Even if you've been feeling depressed for like a day, the normality sensation of it can come like you felt it for a year. I remember me and my ex would feel like that. We would have a couple of weeks where we would feel incredible and it would be amazing. And then we'd have a week where we're both depressed, and we would say literally it feels like we've been like this the whole time. We've never been happy. And I think the reason for that is because happiness you don't dwell on and you don't sit in, you are. While as depression and despair and anxiety in these other situations, you sit in and you dwell, and that creates stress, and it creates this sensation that it's going on for so long. It's like before you go off the roller coaster or off the plane, it's like, oh, come on. And realistically, you've been there for 10 to 20 seconds. But for you, it feels like you've been there for a long time. And I think that's why depression, anxiety, these feelings can feel like a forever, because they are so dark. There is no light, and you get stuck in it. And it can even be for a day. A day can destroy someone. Do you know what I mean? Like someone could be one of the happiest people all their life, and then one day their wife dies, they get depression, and that day, that's it, they commit suicide. And I'm sure that's a thing, correct? Like, you would assume that's a thing, and I think it probably is a thing. But I'm living in a generation right now where it's cool to be dark, and it's cool to feel like shit, and it's cool to, like, my generation, like, look, nearly every woman on my Facebook, right? Not the ones I love. They're good to themselves. It seems like they still, all of us have issues of love and everything, but they're not seduced. They're not. Like, I saw a woman I've got on my Facebook. I saw her share, like she had a dog chain over her neck and a foot on her. And it was like something to do with, some type of sexual content. And I saw so many people, like literally so many people like that. And it's just absolutely mad. And I'm so surprised they don't understand that madness. And that must mean they're in some type of negative, the negativity. That, look, take away emotion, everything. That's negative. That's not positive. That's not going to help anyone. That's not going to make someone's life better. It's not. And, like, don't get me wrong, like, in sex, it's of course there's going to be moments where you both are going to be more animalistic, or more not aggressive, but you're going to be more, you want to get rougher, I guess. But when it gets to that extent, and that's all you can see through sex, it means that that's become normal to you, and you think that's normality. And my culture thinks that's normal. That's not normal. That's not going to get you a wife and a husband, and you're not going to be on the beach happy and all these things. That comes from something. That comes from a normality of your anxiety or of your depression or your PTSD, or that you've been, abused or something, That comes from a normality of something that isn't normal. And, I see so many things like that. That's just one scenario. Or a girl will do... I've seen so many girls do this thing where what they think is positive is to show more flesh and to show more body and to show more sexual vibes, and they think that is a empowerment thing of the woman, when in actuality it's a contradiction of what they think they're doing, because all they are doing is putting their self-worth less, because the more flesh you're showing, the more, especially for a woman, because of how men are for women and things, and like the more flesh you're showing, you're showing that you are, more, you don't give a fuck about those things. You don't really give a shit. And like a woman who like covers herself up and, won't show off what she has, which is, obviously it's beautiful, not in the way they're doing it personally, but like if a woman is much more conserved and doesn't really do those things, and they only do it for the right man or woman, like that, to me is a sign of a strong woman. A strong woman to me is not a woman who thinks, okay, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to not wear a bra. I'm going to not, in this picture, I'm not going to wear a bra. I'm going to wear a skinny white top or black, whatever the case may be, and my nipples will show through, or something along those lines. Like, why have we got to a culture where that is empowerment, instead of why is she doing that? Is she not okay? Like, doesn't she want to cover herself up and be respectful to herself and her own body? And you might think that's a contradiction on my behalf saying that, where you might think me saying that means, well, isn't them showing off their body them being confident? And I think it's not confidence. It's that they want, they need, it's a need thing. It's like, please love me, or please want me, or please be with me, and like, if you really think about it, the woman on profile pictures or whatever you want to call it, like, who are very conserved, and like they're the ones that you see with husbands and children and seem mentally more stable, or have a bigger house, or whatever the case may be. And these women who are showing their nipples through their top on Facebook while their grandma or parents or whatever the case may be, or their job or whatever the case may be, can see this. They usually aren't the ones that just have a husband or a child or even just, and like, what's the alternative for a man? And I would say it's one of those men who wears really skinny tops and shows muscle, and they're like, please, like, you can see it's just like, please. And look, I get it. I get how that in a primitive manner, makes sense. A woman's trying to show her goods, like, hey, like, the more men that want me, the more I'm worth something up the chain of my existence. But I think that we should have evolved in a conscious human manner, and we did, to not have that, where a woman who was very, preserved and very modest about her, everything, that used to be rated high, and we would like that. And I think it was because it showed that she cared about herself, and she didn't want to just portray her sex to anyone. It was going to be specifically for someone. That's a really good way of putting it. She didn't want to portray her sex to everyone. These profile pictures that these girls are doing, like, are like disgusting people are looking at that. Disgusting people are doing things along properly to that. If we just look back to apes, if we see the ape that just has her bum up and she's just shaking it, like, they probably don't go for her as much. They probably go for, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I've just seen a lot of my culture. Mental health is becoming normalised in a good and bad way. That's a really I like where I'm getting this. Mental health is getting to a good and bad place where we're allowed to express who we are and how we feel as a human being to the point where we don't feel condemned for it and we don't feel like we're going to get negative consequences for it. But it's made it where you don't resolve those negative emotions. You don't do the hard work, which is turning around and changing it and making it better, because it's now become the zeitgeist to be depressed, to be anxiety, to want to have a man's foot on your like pushing down your face while he's whatever to you, and that has become the normality of my generation's zeitgeist instead of them actually getting their mental health better. That's another reason I think it's potentially hard for me to find a woman, because look, don't get me wrong, I am a man, and I am a man, and you can hear that I'm a strong opinionated man, and I'm probably somewhat of an alpha male. Like it's becoming more obvious to me, and that's not ego, it's just literally I think I am. I'm looking at the other ones, it just doesn't really go to me, I don't think. So it makes sense that these women who are doing these things do sexually arouse me and do make me go, oh, blimey, at one point. But then, I look back and I'm like, I don't want a relationship with her, and who do I want to relate? I want a relationship with those women who are conserving themselves, but I think they're taken. They're taken. But, yeah, I think it's interesting. I'll go to the man version of what we've done instead of resolving our negative issues, what we've done instead. And I think with men, it's more to be like, it looks like a joke, but it's not. It's like fuck the world. Like everything's fuck the world. So like their status is like, I guarantee I could put a status like, I could put a meme that's like, a Satan's head doing something to like Elon Musk, like driving Elon Musk or something, and I could put like devils everywhere, like Tesla. There's devils in Teslas, or so. I'm not thinking straight, but exactly what I mean. I'm sure people would like that, and I think that's the males' generation and culture is the people who don't resolve their mental health is embracing it and wanting to attack women sexually because it's an attack. They want it, but it's still an attack. Why do you want to abuse a woman while having sex with her? Why does she want that? Like, and look, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. I know what people are thinking. They're going, well, people are allowed to. You're the one making it linear. You're not letting people express themselves. No, I'm just thinking logically. I'm literally just thinking logically. If you disagree with what I'm saying, think so. Like what? Like just answer that question. And you can't answer it with, well, people should be allowed to do what they want. Well, we don't let people do, and we don't want people to allow. We don't allow people to do what they want. That's against the law, or whatever the case may be. We actually want people to do well for themselves as a community, and we can't consider what I'm talking about well for the community. Really, we can't. My generation of men, this is the biggest suicide I think ever recorded. Men's suicide rate is the biggest it's ever been recorded. Why? We can't just go, you know what, let's embrace it. Fuck this guy. He's not letting us be free. Why? Like, you're trying to... It's not that I'm trying to box someone in. I'm trying to make people observe what they're doing for a rational point of view. So if what you're doing is, I'm fucking depressed all the time, and you like, the next thing is you like drinking a bottle of whiskey, and people are like, yeah, fucking go for it. Like, what? Why is my culture doing that? Why is my generation? That's the new cool. Why? It doesn't make sense. We shouldn't want that. We should want the opposite, because it's positive and it makes people's lives better. And our generation is one of the most important generations I've seen ever in history. Look at where we're at, and everything's so tense. And I think the reason it's so tense is because we are completely in fear and we are all scared and we have no idea what's happening. I'm talking to a bloody iPad with a red light on me, like, and this will go on the internet, and like my primitive brain can't fathom this. Like, it's scientifically proven to suggest that our primitive human brains haven't advanced to the point of what technology is. So I think we're just completely disconnected and stuck, and we don't know what we're doing with ourselves. When I see people in my generation who are starting to get they better with their mental health, it seems to be on a spiritual, enlightened way. Like, there's this girl. I probably shouldn't say her name, but there's this girl. She used to go out with one of my really good friends, and I remember her having mental health issues, but I did consider her strong at that point, even then. But now I've seen her get into a spiritual realm where her whole thing is about loving herself and being spiritual. But her friend, I would say, only from what I can see through social media, what she is portraying to me, not what I'm just getting from. For instance, I'm getting exactly what she wants me to see. And what I'm seeing from her is I hope that the friend who is with my best friend will help her as well, because she seems to be that type of person that I'm talking about. So yeah, I will come out of this whole thing I'm talking about. I'm going to come out of this and I'm going to turn around. And I'm going to go up the mountain now. I'm not going to sit in it and dwell in it and make it normality and go, well, I'm allowed to express my mental health. You of course you're allowed to express your mental health, but let's do something about it. Let's do something about it. Let's not put it into the zeitgeist culture where it becomes normalised and people should wonder why people are trying to commit suicide left and right. So, yeah, I'm going to turn around now. I'm going to go up the mountain. All right.